If you live in Washington or you think about moving here, then you may have heard that the state just passed a brand new income tax for high earners. And if you're a business owner, executive, investor, or someone with the potential to earn over $1 million per year, then this could absolutely affect your decisions about where you want to live. So today, I'm gonna go and actually break down exactly what just passed in Washington State, how it works, when it starts, and what it might mean for our luxury real estate market here in Southwest Washington, and especially for people deciding whether to live here in Vancouver, Washington, or in Portland, Oregon. All right, so what actually passed? Well, the Washington State Legislature just passed a bill that creates a new 9.9% state income tax on income over $1 million per year. The bill is called SB 6346, and it's often referred to as the Washington Millionaire Tax. Now, the key thing to remember is this. This is not a broad income tax for everybody that lives in Washington State. It only applies to income above $1 million per household. So, what does that mean? So the first $1 million is not taxed under this law. Only the amount above the threshold of $1 million would be subject to the 9.9% tax. So let me take a moment and kind of explain this a little bit further. So let's say that the household earns $1 million or less, then this tax does not apply to them at all. But if a household earns $1.5 million per year, the tax would apply only to the $500,000 above the threshold. So at a 9.9% tax rate, that would be a tax of about $49,500. So again, this is targeted specifically at the highest income households in the state. Estimates suggest that that roughly affects about 0.5% of earners in the state of Washington. So here's another important point to really remember. This tax does not start immediately. If it ultimately takes effect, it's going to begin in 2028. So there are still, a few years before this would actually take place. And this brings up another really important point. And that point is this. Even though the legislature actually passed it, this story is truly far from over. And the reason for it is this. Washington, as a state, has a long history of rejecting income taxes. I mean, it's been over 100 years, right? And this new law is widely expected to face a lot of major legal challenges. But there's also a strong possibility that it could go to a statewide ballot initiative where voters would actually decide whether or not to keep it or repeal it. And think about it, it affects the 0.5% of our population in Washington State. So at this point, the tax is not fully settled yet by law. It's something that we will definitely have to debate in the courts and possibly be voted upon by Washington residents. So this is a big question. Why should high earners care? Well, for most people living in Washington, again, it's not going to affect you at all. But for high income households, business owners, executives, entrepreneurs, and investors, it's going to become another factor when deciding where you want to live. And historically, one of the biggest advantages of living here in Washington State has been the no income tax statewide. And that's been especially attractive for people moving from places like California. So this new law, if it ultimately stands, it's going to introduce a new whole layer of tax planning considerations for those high earners. So what does this matter, or why does this matter rather, if you're in Portland or Vancouver? Well, because here in Southwest Washington, we have a very unique situation, right? So we sit on the border between two states, Oregon and Washington, separated by the Columbia River. And they're two different tax structures right now. So on the Oregon side, the state income tax rate is actually about 9.9%, which is one of the highest in the country. And on the Washington side, historically, there has been no state income tax at all. So that difference has been a major reason why people choose to live in Vancouver or Camas, Washougal, or even Ridgefield, while still working or doing business in Portland. But here's something that many people actually misunderstand. So if you live in Washington, but you work across the river in Oregon, you typically still pay that Oregon income tax of 9.9% on the Oregon side. And so moving across the river doesn't automatically eliminate you from that income tax if your job or where you earn your money is sourced in Oregon. Now, where it can make a difference is that if your business income, your investment income, your capital gains, bonuses, or income earned outside of Oregon and you live in Washington, then that's an advantage, right? The residency truly makes a difference of where that advantage is going to be. So what could actually change going forward? Well, if the new Washington tax survives legal challenges, and it could slightly change how high-income households think about their residency. And with a swift future vote, who's to say that the state won't actually lower the income threshold to affect more households? It's actually a real possibility that we all have to be aware of. And therefore, most people need to consider if they're relocating to the states with no income tax at all, most people are relocating to states like Texas, Florida, Nevada, or even Wyoming. But in many cases, I believe most people will actually not leave Washington state entirely. Instead, they're going to become much more thoughtful about where in Washington they live and how they structure their finances. So what does this all mean for the luxury real estate market? Well, first of all, uncertainty. It really can sometimes slow down the decision making for people. And when new tax laws actually appear, buyers often pause while they talk to their accountants, tax attorneys, and their financial advisors. And if you're not talking to them right now, you need to. But historically, when tax changes happen, the luxury market doesn't necessarily collapse, it just adjusts. So high-income buyers still prioritize the following, like lifestyle, school, privacy, waterfront property, land, and proximity to cities. And Southwest Washington continues to offer a lot of those advantages in this area. In fact, Southwest Washington may actually remain very attractive for a lot of buyers compared to, let's say, Seattle or the east side of Seattle luxury markets. Buyers here often get more land, larger homes, newer construction, and better price per square foot, again, here in Southwest Washington. At the same time, they still have quick access to everything that Portland has to offer, like the restaurants, culture, airport access, and a lot of cool business opportunities. So for many affluent households, this region continues to offer a really compelling lifestyle value. And if you're a high-income household thinking about relocating, or if you already live here and you're concerned about these challenges, the most important thing you can do is talk to a qualified tax advisor. Definitely not me. Okay, every situation is different, and residency rules income sources, business structure, and investment. The income can all affect you in different ways in different tax structures. So real estate decisions and tax planning often go hand in hand. So if you're considering moving to Southwest